Welcome to Bold Thinking, entrepreneurial stories honestly told. In a world full of chaos, this is a podcast about the people making positive change in the world, using bold thinking to transform businesses and themselves. Today, I'm speaking to Marc Belle, designer and founder of Mr Blackman's, an award-winning men's grooming brand built on the belief that all beards aren't equal. So welcome to Bold Thinking, Marc. Thank you for joining us today. So how are you in today's world?
Yes, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm okay. Hay fever is a little bit mental, but otherwise I'm good.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's really good to talk to you. We had a really good little pre-chat last week, and it's quite interesting what you've created. So talk us a bit about why you founded Mr Blackman's.
A few years back, I had started to grow a beard. I think that was the thing that people did, so I did the same. And I was looking around like you do, trying to find the right product. And I had a friend, coincidentally, that he worked with an existing beard brand, and he gave me quite a bit of stuff to try. It didn't seem to work. It was a bit itchy and stuff. I just figured, maybe that's just not the right thing for me. And then I was sat in the pub with my girlfriend, now wife, and we were having a chat about why are there no black guys on any of the advertising or with these beer brands. I actually said to my friend, why don't you do something about it? You've got this company, go ahead and do something. Put some black guys in your advertising, make it a bit more diverse. He was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but nothing ever happened. So we still had the same problem, and I decided to change that. So I did a bit of research, and I realized I worked out what ingredients you might need for hair, and did some investigating, ran some experiments, and lo and behold, the next thing you know, you've got, I guess, a beard company.
Yeah. So who is Mr Blackman? Is that a person that exists in the world?
It's funny because no one's actually ever asked that before. Nearly 5 years, and this is the first time someone's actually asked. So when growing up in Barbados, there was a man that I knew whose name wasn't Blackman. I had to change that name for numerous reasons. So I tried to choose a name that was quite common in Barbados and that people could kind of relate to. I don't know what he did in his career. I don't know, but I remember my hay fever kicking off because he lived on a farm and there were plants and flowers blooming everywhere. And he picked this leaf and he crushed it down with a bit of water and he put it on the rash that I had. And 5 minutes later, it was gone. And he'd have all this music on and all the people would be dancing. And he smoked a pipe and this real sort of traditional, sort of old Barbados kind of vibe. And he's the one that kind of inspired the name and some of the thinking. It's just funny because although that's where it started, that's who inspired the persona. The actual persona varies from person to person, and we let that just be what people want. I think by having that persona, it enables people to project whatever they want that person to be, rather than us naturally projecting something. Like I think initially he was meant to be this really traditional person. Really old school, a lot older, 70s almost. But over time, Mr. B has got a lot younger.
Yeah.
And
so it allows for quite a lot of personalisation, doesn't it, really, which people to sort of identify themselves with it.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what we're trying to say with the brand. It's we want you to be happy with you. It's all about, I hate this word, but wellness. It's all about just being happy with you and looking after yourself. And I think by making it slightly vague and open to interpretation, it enables people to kind of, like I said, project their feelings onto that person, and then take away the bits that obviously work for them.
I think there's a bit that's fascinating is there's a lot of people at the moment out there that want to set up their own businesses. I'm regularly a bit of a Dragon's Den watcher. You see these people come into the den with these brand new products and these great ideas, from gym making to product brands to cosmetic brands or whatever. And I think the question I always sort of want to ask everybody individually is, how do you have a great idea for a business and then actually produce a range of products, take it to market? If a young person said to you, give me a bit of advice on how you've got to where you are today.
I'd say you need to love whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that there are people out there who are so headstrong and they're very clear cut business people. And they know how to not necessarily love something and still make it work. But most people aren't that person. Business is something that you have to kind of learn. And I guess that's the same for me. So I would say you need to love that thing. You need a good idea, I guess, whether that's a gap in the market or something is improved or a strong message. You need a good idea, and the reality is you're gonna get a lot of knockbacks from a lot of things, and you just have to be a bit persistent. I think deep down you will know whether or not you have something, and there will be some people that will say, actually, you might be onto something, and there will be a lot of people that won't. And I remember listening to another podcast, funnily enough, by someone who founded a men's grooming brand in America. And I think he basically said that you get these knockbacks because people don't want to take risks. And I guess you have to be that person that wants to take the risk. And personally for me, the fact that I loved the thing meant that I didn't care what anyone else thought. I didn't care whether I wasn't setting out to start a successful business. I set out to solve a problem. And it grew into a business.
Yeah. So how did you I'm just going to be really, like someone like Joe Malone or Anita Roddick, they basically stirred products and soaps and solutions and cooked them in their kitchen, stirred them in their bath. How did you actually start off the whole product innovation bit?
Same way. Exactly the same way.
Yeah.
You go and buy you go to Robert Dias or Homebase or whatever company is going to sell your kitchenware, and you come back and you stand in front of the stove and start playing around. The bit that was interesting for me were the scents, the actual smells.
Yeah.
I think I just found it fascinating that you could mix these different things and poof, you had the smell. And then for me, it was like, oh, this was reminiscent of X, or this is reminiscent of Y, or this experience, or and I think even now I still enjoy that bit more than anything else. I enjoy the scent making process, which is really tricky when you've got hay fever because your smell is shocking.
So you're still making it from home now, or is it a bit more sort of industrialized, shall I say? I'm not sure the right word. It is industrialized, but
we're still very small scale. We like to keep it small because it enables us to make things in small batches, which preserves the quality. We certainly haven't scaled up hugely or anything. I think that will hopefully come in time.
At the moment, you've got men's grooming is expanding dramatically, and you've got some great new product lines launching this year. Where do you see this category heading, and where do you come up with these ideas, these new products?
I think, yeah, you're right. Men's grooming and men just looking after themselves has become a big thing. I think that coupled with men taking a bigger interest in their mental health, you've got a situation where men are, I guess, becoming more sensitive to themselves. And so I see it continuing to grow. You get more people enter the market. You will get more things available for men, much like you do in the women's market. In terms of the products and how we come up with them, I think we just try to solve whatever problem people have at that time. So we listen very carefully to what people and customers say. We started with beard care because it was easy. I had a problem. I solved that problem.
And I have to say, you've got an amazing beard. I am actually looking at a Zoom camera here, and it is absolutely brilliant. Please go online and check out the beard, because it is brilliant, isn't it?
Thanks. Yeah, so I think that's where we started. And by having a beard, there's other problems. You've got men that don't have them, can't grow them. You've got men that have razor bumps, and they want to try and prevent those things. So we look at all these things that people are saying, and then we go, right, okay, well, which problem can we try and solve next?
And you've won quite a lot of awards with this, haven't you, as well? How do you sort of get into that?
I honestly can't remember how we came across some of these things, but we did, and we just thought, well, we have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Let's just enter and see what happens. And I remember the first time that we sent some stuff off. You're a small brand, and they say you've got to send off all of this stuff. And I'm looking at the box, and I'm putting the tape over the box, thinking, there's a lot of money in that box.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, try not to think about it. And you send it off, and I never expected to hear anything back. And the next thing you know, you wake up and you've got an email in your inbox basically saying you've won Best Beard Oil. Okay, that's incredible. And I think we never set out to win. We just set out to see what people thought. Yeah. And I think that made us feel a bit like, oh, well, maybe we are.
So what would you say is your best award so far? Now, I'm leading up to a bigger question here. The one you thought, oh, I'm really glad we've got that.
Best Beard Oil was great. And being nominated for the shortlist stuff was quite cool as well. But weirdly enough, it was being runner-up for best shaving product with the cleansing brick. And I say that because what I found out after I realized we didn't win was that we were actually second. And the people that won, I can't remember the name. I'd have to go back and look at the list. But the company that won is this massive, huge conglomerate.
That's where I'm leading, because I looked at your awards and I thought, okay, well, there's some really cool GQ ones. I bet Unilever and places like that are looking in and going, okay, this little tiny brand made in his bath and on his stove, we're coming up with some pretty impressive awards here. You're absolutely going for it.
Well, we're trying to we're just trying to solve problems and enjoy it along the way. Living in the UK, you don't have the sun and you don't have all the home comforts that you have when you're back in Barbados. And I think being in the brand helps me do that. It helps me connect. It helps me experience a lot of the things that you wouldn't necessarily, partly because you're looking at sunny beaches and trees and things like that a lot. And I think by not focusing on what other people are doing too much. Don't get me wrong. You look at what other people are doing. By not concerning yourself with it too much, you can just focus on you.
Yeah.
And what you're doing and where you're going and where you're at and what you need to do next. And yeah, I'm sure some of these bigger brands are looking at what we're doing. I mean, I've seen them. I've seen the stats where you can see who's liked this picture or who's come from X place or who's bought this product with this email address. And you're thinking, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Bit of market research.
No. I mean, I think that was a bit that was really impressive. I think a lot of people want to know how to set up a business from scratch. And I think what we really liked about you was the passion behind the brand, but also the fact that you are playing in the big league. You are in competition and winning awards and stuff like that for your brand, because you've created a really strong brand personality, Mr Blackman. So what do you think people want from brands today?
I think they want them to be honest. They want them to be honest and as transparent as they can, because a lot of people just don't trust them. I mean, back in when I was growing up, brands just had to look cool. They just had to have the slickest advertising and the coolest people starring in the adverts. Now, people want something that they can relate to, something that like I said, feels honest, something feels real. And I guess that's what we tried to do. When we post pictures on, say, Instagram, we don't always put pictures of people that are models. We put pictures of your ordinary guy. The guy that you will go, he will never be a model. But who cares? He's just another person, and he deserves that recognition, that ability to just be.
If you sort of in 10 years' time have an aspiration and you want to look back at where you've got and what have you've achieved and what legacy you're creating, what would you want to have achieved by that point? What would make you really proud of where you're at and what you're doing?
I guess, I mean, we try not to think too far ahead because things change quite rapidly. But I guess if we thought that we were like the go-to brand for men, or that we had created or helped to create more of an attitude of being yourself, and people felt more confident and that they could be themselves and that they looked after themselves. And if one person in the street went, oh yeah, I never bought Mr. Blackman's products, but I saw the mottos and stuff like that, and I took that and I ran with it, and it helped me have this positive mental attitude about myself, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with that. I think that for me is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting, your strapline, all beards aren't equal, is a really strong statement around that, isn't it? It's, you can't treat us all like a mass. We're all quite unique in our own outlook and personality. And tell us a little bit about your all beards aren't equal strapline.
Yeah, so when we started, obviously, like I said, there was I couldn't find, I think apart from one company in America, I couldn't find anything that was designed for men with curly hair. Not one.
And you've got amazing curly hair, I have to say. It is brilliant. I'm sitting here in awe of the hair and the beard.
I think the general attitude was like, oh, well, you can use this. You can probably just use what they have. And I'm thinking, well, I used what you had and it didn't work. So we had this strapline, and I guess it's like a punk attitude. It's just like that's how we're going to position this. We're gonna go out there and we're going to say what we're going to say, and we're going to bust the myths that people have about some of the industry that you must have a different product for every single thing. And the same thing with All Beards Aren't Equal was there are other men out here too, and they need to be seen. And no, we don't all have the same beard, so we're gonna make stuff for men that have curly hair, and put it out there.
So, for the future, how optimistic are you? And how sort of what do you think it's going to take for a brand to thrive?
Tricky times at the minute. I think that, like I said, brands need to be honest and transparent, but I think they need to be adaptable and quite flexible, because it's difficult for it, especially in a changing climate. When you become too large, it's difficult to flex, to change, to make changes to how people perceive stuff. Like at the minute, I see some of the bigger brands trying to inject culture into these cultureless brands, and I just smile and laugh at it, because I go like, well, that's just quite funny, because people now, especially the younger people, they like independence, and they like people that they can relate to, and they like small, and they like shopping from small places that support a more circular economy. And I think if you can do that on a massive scale, then big up to you. But it's hard. And I think that is probably what brands and businesses need, to be able to flex.
And you know what? That's probably a lot of times why people, I don't know. I've listened to an amazing talk with Joe Malone. They do, to expand and to get that global reach, they do dilute their shares, or they sell out to get that message more globally. I mean, would you ever consider that?
Selling the brand is always a possibility. I mean, it you could say, oh well, you sold out or what have you, but what people need to also remember is, when you start something, you start it for a particular reason. And that might be, like in my case, I started to solve a problem. And then I went on and went, oh, actually, I quite enjoy mucking around with the different smells. And that's where my passion even now is. But as the business grows, you start having to take on a lot of other things that are required to make a business grow, or even just to sustain itself, that aren't necessarily fun. I don't want to manage people. I don't want to managing like freelancers and contractors that we pull in from time to time is hard enough. Having to manage a ton of staff would mean that I don't get to do any of the fun stuff that I kind of want to do. And so at that point, you have to make a choice. You can either sell some shares, and other people can come in and do some of those bits, and things will be diluted down a little bit, or you can close shop and it will just disappear. And that will possibly make people unhappy. So it's a tricky one, really. I think for me, I try not to think too far ahead, and I think of now and just enjoying what I'm doing.
True.
At the same time, we're young, and we're just about to hit 5. And I kind of think if someone decided to uproot the brand core values, then I probably wouldn't want to work with you, because that just doesn't work at this point.
No, I mean, I think it's fascinating. It's hard. I think we spoke to many entrepreneurs and business owners and big brands over the years. And I think the thing that's really hard that helps or is pretty important in a business is growth. There's only one way to go, really. And it's either incremental or big growth. But it's hard, like you said, to just go, I'm going to slow down or shut the doors. It's almost impossible.
I think people would be really upset as well. When we started and you did this thing, I always thought if I shut shop now, no one would know. But if I did that right now, people would know. And I think that's where you start realizing you've got a thing that people rely on that. People know it exists.
Yeah. Do you know, I think you've got a really lovely brand and I think there's some great lessons here for entrepreneurs that are thinking about setting up their businesses or giving it a go. And like you said, mixing in the kitchen and doing something they're really passionate about. And I think a brand like yours that you've created also has a strong story in that you can go up against the big brands, win those amazing awards and be recognised for what you do. And I think it's a really great achievement. It's really impressive. And I absolutely love the brand. And I actually love the design. So anyone that's listening to this, go and look at the website as well, because I think it's super cool. I love it. So thanks today for joining us, Marc. And thank you for listening to Bold Thinking, entrepreneurial stories honestly told. If this episode has got you thinking, which I'm sure it has, share your comments on LinkedIn, Twitter or Instagram, or you can contact us at hello@thehonestbrand.com. Join me next time to hear from someone else who's making positive change in the world. And it's brilliant talking to you today, Marc. Thank you.
Thank you.